Hi guys, and welcome to today's SEMrush webinar, and thank you for joining. So today we're back again with another SEMrush Toolbox. It's the 9th in the series, and today we're going to be talking about the SEO Content Template and the SEO Writing Assistant. So guys in the YouTube chat, let us know where you're all from. YouTube chat, remember you can ask questions and answers. Well, hopefully questions and answers done at the end of the webinar. But before we start off, just going to introduce today's guest, who is Fabrizio Ballarini. And many of you will know him. He's not a new guy to the SEMrush webinars. He's been on quite a few before. So Fabrizio, thank you for joining us today. For anyone who's not too sure who you are, if anyone's never seen you before, can you tell me a bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello. Hi, thanks for having me here today. My name is Fabrizio. I work here at TransferWise. TransferWise is a money transfer company, and here I look after SEO and organic growth. So part of my team works on content, and part of my team work on like technical SEO platforms and products. So.
Thank you. So TransferWise, massive company. So what size is your team in TransferWise? How many guys are in there?
I think overall we have a full stack team. So I would count in, let's say, even engineers, designer, copywriters. We are almost 25 to 30 people. We have around 10, 15 people working on content in 10 market plus, it's 10 languages more or less.
Yeah, hard work. Sounds like a lot of hard work compared to what I'm used to doing, just affiliate marketing and stuff like that. It does seem like a whole lot of hard work, but
it used to be just me, right? So like three years and a half ago, I was alone here. So the more things get bigger, the more you eventually need people, right? And
you've got to delegate. You can't do all of that all by yourself, especially. I take it you guys have just been growing in different markets all the time, just expanding in different continents and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we from day one we were already operating. When we started the SEO program, we were already operating across Europe, but now we launch in pretty much anywhere in the world. So we recently just added someone to work on our Japan market. So like that's the kind of stuff where you need local talent to get it done. Otherwise, it's pretty. I can improvise myself in a couple of languages, but that's how far I can go. So
yeah, no, I don't think Japanese is the easiest one. I've got a tattoo that's in Japanese on the inside of my arm, and I've had it for like 12 years, and I still don't really know what it says. I think there's different variations of the Japanese language as well. So I think there's like 10 languages within there. So yeah, Japan's you need local talent for that one. So we're just going to give it another minute or so while people are coming in. You can see a lot of people in there from Atlanta, North Dakota, Nashville. There's a lot of different people in there. So William Rock, good to see you in there as well. So we've got a lot of people coming in. But before, we'll just let other people come in just now. So is there anything, what's new, what's happening with yourself on a personal level? Are you still talking at events, or how's that all going?
I do sometimes. I have a couple of events. I'm speaking to search leads, digital elite in the coming months, but it's also a matter of balance of working with the guys in the team, and also how much is worth doing, right? I guess in our case, our only goal is to let people know that we are hiring. Our only goal is to let people know that we have an in-house team working on this, and we're quite dedicated to it. But that's why we try to be and contribute to the community, but also it's difficult compared to, let's say, being an agency or being a consultant, to be always on the scene on like events and stuff, right? So there are quarters where we hire in a lot of people, and my time is like just gone. Yeah. So I think like that's it's about finding the right balance, I guess, for us, and also based on what sometimes we do relatively cool stuff, but maybe we rather not share it, right? But at the same time, if we would have maybe a little bit more time, we could, find a little bit better way to let people know we work, how some of the stuff that we do, because it's, I guess other companies, they have similar challenges, right? Relatively, no matter whether you're in-house or not, or whether you're working with agencies or not, you end up having similar challenges. So I think it's good that in our community people share and
yeah, for sure. But what we'll do just now, because there's lots of people on there, what we'll do is I'll start off with just a quick talk through the tool itself, and then we will have Fabrizio, giving us some tips and stuff like that that he uses the tool for as well. So I'll just start sharing my screen, and first I'm going to start talking about where you find the tool first and foremost. So you log into your dashboard and you'll have your options up here, whether it's the SEO toolkit or all tools. The quick way to get here is the content marketing toolkit. So if you click that, it will give you the different stuff here. So we're going to start with the SEO content template. So we just click on that. It's taking a little bit of time to load. Always happens when you're live on here. So the SEO content template is the first tool I'm going to show you guys. Very simple and easy to use. I'll just zoom in a little bit. So basically what happens here is SEMrush analyzes your rivals' content to give you ideas on how to write decent content or how to beat the competition. So what you do here, just in the search bar, is you just stick in a search term. So for example, I'm from Glasgow, so I'm going to do SEO Glasgow. And we're going to click the big green button there, create SEO template. And the tool will go to work, simple and easy as that. You'll see it's just analysing the top 10 ranking rivals for those particular keywords. And it takes a minute or so to pull through. And it will give you some recommendations here. So first things first, I want to make sure that you get things right. So over on the right-hand side, make sure that you do have the right database. United Kingdom is where I'm based. Obviously, if you're in America, you can select or wherever, Canada, you can select the correct options there. So just make sure you're doing the right database so that it is giving you recommendations on the right kind of content. So the search term is SEO Glasgow, and it's going to have key recommendations based on your top 10 rivals. So it's got semantically related keywords. So it's got digital marketing, SEO agency, SEO services, and various other ones. It's also got backlinks, backlink recommendations. So I can see Bruce Clay there, Be Digital, Screaming Frog, and a few other names that I'm well aware of, and some other information as well. It's giving you the readability and the average score. So we'll go into that later on, what the score is and how that's gauged. And text length. So it's saying the recommended text length is 538 keywords. So what SEMrush, or this tool, does cleverly is analyzes everyone else in the top 10 and looks at the kind of volume of keywords and everything else that they're doing. And it gives you a breakdown. So if you scroll down, you'll be able to see everyone that is in the top 10 for that particular search term. And it also, at the very bottom, gives you basic recommendations, which you'll be able to see here. So it's saying add at least one of your target keywords to your title tag. Don't target each keyword more than one time. Optimal title tag length, 55 characters. And talks about your meta description should be 160 characters, which is right. It's telling you to use a header 1 tag with your keyword in it. And it's also telling me to target keywords at least one time within the content. Now, I don't really obsess over the word SEO Glasgow, although I'm based there. I don't do client work, so I don't actually have a lot of that on my website, which is why it's giving me those recommendations. So That is basically, just some of the recommendations that you can get from the tool. Now, if you click on the green button here, you can export that to a document if you wanted to give that to a client. So you simply just click on that and it will download it onto your computer. And that's something you can give to your clients or whatever else. Now, you've also got this other part here where it says real-time content check. So it can look at your content here and give you a readability score. So this is on my own particular page. So it's saying my overall score is 3.8 out of 10, which is poor. I would imagine it would be poor because I don't really target the keyword in SEO Glasgow. Readability, it's saying it's 54. So it's probably on point in terms of readability. Words, I've got 407. The target is 538. And it's also saying, recommended keywords that I could put in there as well. My article has no headline yet. So, it's also allowing me to get ideas for a headline using the topic research tool, which is a different tool altogether. But obviously, SEMrush is all kind of super integrated into each other. So you can get a kind of nice headline there using another tool. It also gives you the kind of tone of voice that SEMrush feel that you're using, and it's saying it's near the formal side of things. So it gives you a lot of good feedback, and that's just the real-time content check. So it gives you a nice score there, readability and stuff like that. But what does readability actually mean? So the definition, readability score definition, it's all explained if you click on the score definition part here on readability, but you can open that up and it will tell you it's very easy to read, understood by an average 11-year-old student, and so on. Obviously, for people who are reading SEO, they're not always going to be well educated in what SEO is or fully understand it. So you probably want something near the middle. To be fair, it doesn't have to be plain and simple that an 11-year-old student can read it. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm sure with a grown-up's vocabulary and use of words, then you probably want to be hitting somewhere near the middle. That's just my own personal opinion though. So that's what the readability score definition is. And these are all SEMrush based scores. And obviously there's SEMrush customer success teams in the YouTube chat if you want to ask any more questions about how that data is collected, why it's collected and stuff like that. So that is the real-time content check, which is part of the SEO content template. And obviously you can set a writing task here as well. You can create a new Google Doc, create an existing Google Doc, and you've obviously got to have the kind of add-on installed onto your browser as well. So you can create writing tasks here as well. So that is basically what the SEO content template is. You can go back and change your keywords and look at different competition and put in their stuff and all that kind of stuff, and basically collect a whole lot of data, get semantically related keywords, check out some good backlinks, find out whether SEMrush feels that it's what the readability score is, and obviously try and get some substance to your content as well, because you need a bit of substance there. 200 and 300 words is not good enough. And again, the fact that SEMrush pulls all of this data together at the push of a button is really simple and easy to use. So you can work at scale with this. You can do lots of research and stuff like that, which is great. So that is the SEO content template. The next part of this webinar is going to be about the SEO Writing Assistant, which you see directly under the SEO content template. So the Writing Assistant goes hand in hand. So the SEO Writing Assistant, it checks if the text that you've written follows SEMrush's best SEO recommendations. So you can click the green button here to create a new template. Put in the keyword again. Oh. Yeah, SEO Glasgow. In fact, I think it's already stored on there anyway, so let's go down here. So how it works, basically the SEO Writing Assistant is how it works. You can get an add-on for Google Documents, so you can navigate to Google Documents and add the plugin. It's completely free. And then you've got to, so you can see all the kind of instructions here. So you get the add-on for Google Documents, turn it on in Google Documents. So every time you want to use the add-on, turn it on in the Google Documents menu, and then you can check your content in real time. So as you type, your content is automatically checked for SEO friendliness based on your target keyword. So that is basically how that works. So add-ons menu, you would just simply go to the add-ons menu, which is up here. The instructions are all there. And then you would go to SEMrush, SEO Writing Assistant, and click Install. Just click Allow. And then that's it installed. So it says to start improving your text by going to add-ons. And you can basically put your content, so you're going to be writing your content on a document anyway, and then you can basically go to add-ons, go to SEMrush Writing Assistant, click show, and it's going to give you that score over on the right-hand side. So over on the right-hand side here, this is just an example bit of text. So it's saying the score is poor, 0.0 out of 10. Readability is very plain. There's not enough keywords. There's not enough target keywords. And it's giving me recommended keywords as well. So you can use the SEMrush SEO Writing Assistant on Google Documents. Now, they also have a WordPress plugin that allows you to install that onto your WordPress website. So if you go to user manual up the top, it will tell you all the kind of different options that are available to you. So what I showed you there was how to install the Google Docs add-on. There is a WordPress plugin, and you know, it basically gives you the same thing on the right-hand side, you know, as a kind of widget showing you whether your content is readable or not, exactly as it does on the SEO Content Template. So no matter what you use, whether it's just 2 seconds, whether it's the WordPress plugin or whether it's on the Google Docs, the Writing Assistant will give you ideas, semantically related keywords. It will give you a score, readability, and everything else that will then help you be able to better your content. So these tools are just a guide. You know, obviously you've got to use common sense and things like that. But you know, readability is really up to yourself and your target audience as well. You guys know your target audience and you know what tone of voice you want to use and all that kind of stuff. And there is no real set guidelines on the amount of words that are used on a particular piece of content. But you know, it's always good to see what the other guys are using. And obviously, SEMrush are saying 538 is the kind of optimal amount for SEO in Glasgow. So it's a great guide to have. If it goes a little bit more than that, that's fine. What I would say to anyone is don't think you have to try and squeeze everything into exactly 538 keywords. This stuff is more for a guide and to try and help you rather than say it has to be a specific figure. So that is, you know, the SEO Writing Assistant. And the SEO Writing Assistant, as it says, comes in a number of different add-on formats. So you, as I say, WordPress, Google Documents, entirely up to yourself, and it works very well. So, you know, I think it's something we should all be using. You know, you're using SEMrush's database of information to better your content, and I think it just gives people a pointer. So if you're outsourcing this kind of content to people, it's a great tool to just give those guys a nice guide at, you know, as in, you know, what they should be doing. So that is pretty much the tools in a nutshell. How to use them, how to install the add-on. It's quite easy. Follow the on-screen instructions and all should be good. So that is the tools. So what I'll do is just stop sharing my screen and allow Fabrizio to take center stage. So
okay, just share my screen. Yeah, I guess what I prepared here, I prepared a few slides that will help you understanding what happens when you actually use that tool for real, and like our experience in using some of the features that are in the tool, some of the stuff that we initially were doing without the tool that now we do through the tool as well. Can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Okay, perfect. So maybe just for the sake of giving people a little bit of context, right? I work at TransferWise, where I look after SEO and organic growth. Part of our team is working on content production. We have one platform that we build for managing long form content, which is pretty much a blog. We have a couple of SEO guys. There are 12 people who produce content, and then they work with a network of freelancers. And we're currently making content in 12 languages, 17 countries, and roughly we made around over 1,000 articles a year. That's roughly what we did in the past few years. But as we grow a market, as we grow as a company, this continues to scale. And we started this from almost nothing. Our blog initially had something like 10,000 visits and a couple of articles that were barely ranking. We were making one article a month. So we went through the process of really scaling content production from like just few articles a month to in the order of hundreds, right? And our strategy is very simple to some extent. We tend to understand our customer need. We understand what problem they search for. We add them with content, and then hopefully the day we add them with content, then they also discover TransferWise as an alternative to send money. And then like when you go a little bit deeper on like what the life of an article is, the production is like the time where you spend the time that you spend creating an article, and then there's also following phases where Google will crawl an index, where traffic will start coming to your website, and customer will come to your website. The reason why I think these tools are so important because they really help you in the production phase, and that's where like over the past year we really focused in terms of optimizing, because if you get that right, currently we don't do almost no optimization of stuff that we push out, very little. We barely promote it on social media. We just try to nail very well content in the first place when it first is created. And like, like any other company, you probably have similar process, right? You have a bunch of keyword data. You have copywriters, editors, translators, publishers, and these guys, they will use that keyword data and then, come up with articles, group that keyword data, cluster it, and find it in a way that is meaningful to people, and then come up with article. The challenge, though, and what we started to notice from day one is that we were not that organized. Our operation was at really small scale. And even before SEMrush built the content template, that's why it was such a great news when the thing came, we started ourselves to put a little bit more structure to what briefs we were sending to our freelance writers. And the reason why is that most of the time without that, our content wasn't successful, and then we had to go back, redo it, or just put it in the bin. So our old content templates were simply spreadsheets, right, where we were looking at topics, subtopics, related keywords and pages, primary keywords, secondary keywords, and then we were looking at the competition. We were looking at the top 10 sites that were performing for that given article topic in search. We were categorizing those sites, and then we were finding relevant links of like content that we should definitely mention in our own content articles guides. And that was like, it was us spending a bit of time understanding what is essential in a content tool, and that's why now we use the content template, because it pretty much covers this key area. Something that we definitely wouldn't miss, I think, is nailing from the very early day titles and headlines. We don't let a freelancer get too creative with these. We have like a strict structure of the article and target keywords. Not that they need to stick keywords there, but they need to definitely have content and answer certain keywords that we want to cover within the article. And then while we do that, we need to have a strong sense of what are the competing websites. Most of the time we're not inventing stuff that doesn't necessarily exist. There are probably other websites that already try to write a similar article or add the similar content. So it's really important that if we want to come up with the possibly best article in the space, we need to have a strong understanding of what these guys are doing. And that's pretty much what the SEO content template does, right? If you go straight to the tool and what Craig just showed, it helps you creating a brief, a template, and then that is probably, when it comes to us producing content, is the most important part of our process. We start from research and validation. We have a stage where our content admins and specialists produce a brief, and then we send it to freelancer to write it up, and then when the content comes back, we proofread it, edit it, do review, and then finally publish it. Over time, we figure out that the importance of the brief is probably 99% of the success of the article working, and that's what now the tool does for us compared to our old spreadsheet, and the key area that we want to address by having a very, very strong brief is to make sure that we get it right from the very early days, right? Often companies work the other way around. They publish, or by various teams publish a bunch of content, and then they retroactively try to optimize it for some keywords and try to make it rank. In our case, we only make this content if that is answering a customer problem, a particular search intent. And so ultimately, what this process helps us to is to have a very strong relationship with the people that write the content, and make them less concerned about doing SEO. Their core task is to write high quality content. Also, if we don't have very clear briefs, it's also difficult to feedback to them because you have less chances to go back to and say, actually, this content doesn't really answer what we were meant to solve for our customers. And then ultimately, you reduce the time going back and forth doing reviews and checks. When we first started this, we were probably reviewing, we had at least 2 to 3 stages of review. I think that right now we should be around 1, but sometimes the content is good to go. We barely do reviews. It's good to publish. So I think that's why this briefing stage is really important. And then if you go to the tool, if you have to compare the content template to what our old spreadsheet used to do, it does roughly the same job. And it tells us what are the top sites that perform in that given space. This example is writing an article about getting a visa in China. That's something that could be useful for our international customer. So it tells us what are the top sites that perform in that space, which is pretty good for us to start building an understanding of what content do we need to produce. It tells us semantically relevant keywords, which is a good help us start exploring what topics within the article we need to cover, right? Will an article about getting a visa in China, not mention the documents that you need or stuff like that. This is the kind of must-have for that given content, let's say, and that's why these semantically relevant keyword help us to define that. We care relatively less about backlinks in our case because we don't work on outreach or any activity like that. But again, looking at what other sites link to the content help us understanding what information are necessarily a must-have within that article, so that we don't miss out. And this is just the first step, right? This is within adding a keyword, pressing one button, you start having a top-line understanding of what the brief should look like. And I think the really important part is when you start creating, Craig did, this content template, and then you link them to the writing assistant, which is the tool that helps you validating that the content actually match this part. And we currently don't use the writing assistant only to validate after the content is being produced whether is good or not, but you edit the writing assistant even before the content is being produced to refine those recommendations, because sometimes the recommendation that the tool gives you is based on the competition that is out there. It could well be that the top 10 sites in that space are not doing such a great job on that content. So if by doing additional keyword research you find out that you could do technically better, you just want to edit this thing. So from early days, what we do, we link the content template to, in our case, we use Google Docs, but you could do it on WordPress as well. But we link it to Google Doc, and then we go into at this point, we have an empty Google Doc, right, with no content being written. But SEMrush, because you can log in and sync the Google document with the SEMrush platform, you can already populate the recommendation from the content template. And what we do at this stage, we go through them and we validate whether this makes sense. Sometimes it's not the tool's fault, but it could just be that there's no very good content out there, or maybe we want to expand a given topic a little bit better. So in this case, we use the SEO Writing Assistant. We go in the SEO Writing Assistant, we click Edit in the keyword targeting section, and then we use it in conjunction with the Keyword Magic tool, which is the keyword search tool from SEMrush. And this helps us to expand on related topics and a group of keywords that could be relevant to this particular article. In this example, we're talking about getting a Chinese visa. So the Keyword Magic tool helps us expanding on detail about citizenship, help us expand this on the center where you could go and do this. Requirement for the picture, probably there's going to be a difference between a tourist visa and like a working visa. So again, it's an opportunity to go a little bit deeper in like figuring out what is the possibly best content for this given keyword, and help customer with a very comprehensive article, rather than just limiting yourself to just comparing with the competition. And then once you save that, that is saved, it stays within that particular content template. You can check either on SEMrush platform or back of your Google Docs, and that's like basically good to go to the writer. Another bit that we do in conjunction with other tool is on day one, when you link your article, your Google Doc with let's say an empty Google Doc with a keyword template, you don't necessarily have an headline for that article. And sometimes it's good to have a better understanding of what is out there again, to build a better view on what headline should we use. So you can just click on the Get Ideas from the Topic Research tool, and then you will be prompted to the Topic Research tool on the SEMrush platform. You can then click on Overview, and then SEMrush will suggest you for that given main keyword called, in this case, Chinese visa, will suggest you what are the top headlines by backlinks and what are the top 10 headline interesting question around this topic. And some of these could potentially be your title, or sometimes this could inform the paragraph and like the subsection of your article. So we use that to start drafting within the article, template on Google Docs. We start drafting what are the key questions that we need to answer and what is the headline going to be. So I think this is a very important step, because I think that you always need to judge yourself, the recommendation that you receive, and by using the tool in conjunction with the other tools, you can expand and you can probably refine it to the point where you're really happy about any given recommendation. At this point, you have the article, and you probably send it to the freelancer. The freelancer, whoever writers in your team, is writing the article up, and then at that point you basically switch in using only the writing assistant. And this is roughly, when we look at our stage, of our publishing process, is roughly at the end of it. We already made a brief, we already briefed the writer comes back with an article, and this is the last phase where we need to check whether the content that we have is actually matching what we were planning to write. And obviously the importance of making a very good and very well-refined brief is essential, because the less detail you add to your original template, to your original brief, the less you will have an understanding of how to measure the quality of it. And that's what we do then with the writing assistant, right? So that's where we actually look at the scoring. That's where now an article is being written in that particular Google Doc. And over time, like we understood that in order to get better, faster, and like doing better content in general, it was really all about the brief. And by doing a good brief, it helped us even at the later stage to make sure that writers don't go for completely freestyles in writing something else, giving them better expectation, having more consistency against the keyword research that we did originally, and also quickly validate whether our expectations were met, rather than going back to pick our Google Docs, reread the entire article, go through each paragraph, figuring out whether the writer did a good job or not. We still proofread, check the article, and edit it, but at least this phase is covered by the tool. And here I put an example, like one of our article using the scoring from the plugin. This article is about finding like a currency exchange shop in an international airport. And as you can see, once the article has been written in Google Docs by one of the writer, immediately you can have score as you go. And then like obviously we have someone within the SEO team that help us going through the store and like communicate with the writer. And I think that's where like it's good to have people with a good understanding of what they're doing on top of using the metrics from the tool. The tool is going to be as good as your input when it comes to the brief, but also the scoring. You need to understand the nature of the scoring. I think there was some good question like in the thread earlier, in a way that how like SEMrush calculate the ideal word count, or stuff like that. And that's really important. I really incentive you to ask this to the customer support team, because you really understand then how you're going to use this metric. For instance, on the word count, in this particular case, we go above the word count suggested by looking at the 10 competing sites in that space. But it could just be the case that we wrote a better article. So I think in this case, if none of the content that we added there is useless, why not keeping it? But in other cases, like looking at that word count could tell us, imagine the word count is 2,000 words and we only wrote 200. There's a good chance that we haven't really answered that topic really well, right? So it's probably a strong signal to help us going back to the drawing board. And similarly for the other score, right? Like the overall score, or like the keyword recommendation score, it's not just about ticking boxes, right? Obviously, the more your brief is well built, the more the content is well produced, the more you will hit higher score. But I think again, this is just an opportunity to flag a specific problem, and it's not just about ticking the boxes of reaching the score. But for instance, on the keyword recommendation section, is quite important sometimes, right? Maybe the writer forgot to add a paragraph covering a particular topic within the article. In this case, we are missing the keyword gate D6. I assume that there might be a shop at that particular gate. I don't know that airport really well, but I assume that maybe we forgot to mention that at this particular gate, that's where you could find a currency exchange shop. And again, like this recommendation will help you to assess, like, have we missed anything? Is there anything that we overlooked? Or maybe it's actually fine, right? It's just that we decided to expand a little bit more, or make slightly different content, but we're still satisfied about it. And that's why you still need people to evaluate what is a good score. Probably I wouldn't be happy with a 0 score, right? Just to give you an idea, because that means that you wrote another article about something else, right? You're talking about going on holiday rather than actually exchanging currencies, right? But still within a certain range, let's say 5 to 10, probably is just down to how you adjust your brief against the outcome. Yeah, and then like one new feature that actually back in time we were covering with the Copyscape, and now that we use through the SEMrush platform, is to make sure that we invest in unique content. I guess that there are multiple reasons why maybe you don't want to bother about it, but like in our case we do. We want to make sure we help our customers with like content that is unique, and like we're not like just copying things from the outside. In this case, it shows 98% plagiarism, because obviously this article has been published already, but we are the only. Also, SEMrush tells you which source. the copied content comes from, and also they provide you with a link and an interface to go and check where you have like copied content that is not unique. And again, it will help you to have a more transparent relationship with your writers and avoid them not writing unique content, or avoid, and this sometimes it's not necessarily the writer fault, and maybe you're writing a lot of articles that are about the similar topic and cover the similar search intent, and the content is always roughly the same, and that's where this can help you spotting that over time we're writing more and more similar stuff, and maybe you can fine tune and adjust what's going on. So that's roughly how we use the two tools, right? So there's one part that is about like writing the best brief possible so that we don't miss out. And then there's another part who is like checking whether what our writers produce is actually what we were expecting. And like I think that I really incentive you to obviously to try, and if you're producing content, I incentive you to speak with the team as well. By accident, I pressed the "was it useful?" no button, and someone emailed me yesterday after probably less than 1 hour. So I think you have an opportunity to speak with product team who are developing this product and give them feedback if there's something that is not useful, or otherwise just check like Craig was showing you, like the knowledge base, because there's a lot of like easy guides on how to get on with it. And then the more you get experienced about using this particular tool, the more probably you will have your own way to integrate it with your let's say spreadsheet or places where you manage your content production. You could link this to the SEMrush marketing calendar feature as well to help you scheduling if your team is using that. In our case, we use spreadsheet, so we link it to spreadsheet. But important is that you understand which feature are really important to you, and then you link those with the tools that you use to get content produced. And just to give you an understanding of like why this was particularly good for us, and why we think that this is quite an important part when it comes to really scaling content, is mostly due to the fact that we soon realized, right? We started with a small content team, one SEO guy alone, and one couple of writers. Now we have like a fairly larger team, and what we soon realized is that publishing doesn't necessarily scale. What I mean by scale is that any content specialist, any writer in a given amount of time in a day can produce X many articles, right? So it's not that suddenly our writers can produce 10 times, 5 times more articles. It's a very linear correlation between the people that you have in the team and the writers that you have in the team, and to the output of it. It's like articles being published, pages being indexed, and traffic. And that's why over time we realized that most of our gains were coming, yes, by expanding the team, but also by building publishing efficiencies. And that's where these tools are particularly helpful, right? The less time you waste in going back and forth on things, and the more time you optimize your process, and the better is going to be the outcome. And we have some metrics around that. At some point, we went really nuts about measuring like each single step of the production process. We were measuring time from like article to draft to brief to reviews to like proofreading to publishing, and by making better briefs over time help us reducing the stages, right? So for instance, we help us having less review time going on between one stage and another, and also overall it helped us optimizing the time for content to be published. So we were, let's say, creating a brief initially, and then waiting sometimes even 2-3 months for the content to be published. By the end, it was at the end. By the end of the process, versus now we can probably push out content in less than a month, doing all the review checks and all the publishing operation, which is really important, because ultimately, if you want to grow your traffic, and if you want to grow your presence in organic search by adding more content to your website, the sooner you add it, the better, right? If you could publish all your content today rather than in the next 2 years, that would be definitely better. So I think that's our main learning when it comes to optimizing the operation and figuring out what content works. And this is working, right? Our traffic is growing roughly 3x year on year, and that's pretty much what we learned, right? We learned that being consistent is really important, and like is a really important condition for when you scale, and that's what these two tools combined help you to do. Is they help you to have a consistent methodology to brief, consistent way to put the data from, and then avoiding getting lost in the process, avoiding measuring the quality of the content in a different way, and stuff like that. I think that's it. That was pretty much all our learnings in this particular session. I probably should stop sharing my screen.
Perfect. Amazing presentation there. A lot of good feedback on YouTube. So yeah, a lot of in-depth and great to see how you personally use the tools as well. I think that's what people really want to see, is how a company or you yourself, what you're doing with it, and integrating it with other parts of SEMrush. So yeah, amazing, and some great feedback there. So guys, if you've got any questions, whether it's content related or about the tools we've just spoken about, or anything else SEO related, make sure you do ask them in the YouTube chat there. We still have 13 minutes left, so anything at all relating to whether it's processes and obviously or scaling up or anything like that as well, then I'm sure we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So I'm going to crack on with some questions just now. We've got a question here. How important is it to follow recommendations and the score on the Writing Assistant plugin to the letter, or is it not? Or is it okay not to reach 100% for every article?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as I mentioned, I think you should use those scores as indicators, right? Having a 10-10 score doesn't guarantee you to do well in Google, right? And other search engines, right? This score is just like recommendation that will help you fine tuning your content. And for instance, right, when it comes to, and also your ability to reach good score is also probably down to the quality of the writers that you have, also the quality of the brief that you make, right? The more detailed is the brief, the less you have chances that writers go off the track, and then most likely they will hit higher score. So I think in general is always important to understand what the score does, which metrics within the score we really care about, because depending on your business, depending on what are your objectives, you might be more into some metrics or another. You might have less control of one metrics versus another. So I think is an indicator, but I wouldn't take this as an absolute metric to reach. The important bit is using this score to help you with a process, right? Help you with a set of tasks that can improve overall the article, and that's how I would look at it. Yeah.
Cool. So obviously, being in a big company like you are, would you use these tools across all languages and all markets, or is it the same process for all of them?
Yeah, we use that in multiple markets. Obviously, is the richness of the data is subject to the richness of the web in the first place, and second of SEMrush data in a given market. I think if you go in the acknowledged space, there's a list of supported countries and the languages, I think, for the tool, and the guys probably can tell you better. But yes, we use it across multiple markets. Obviously, it's quite likely that the more you go on a smaller market or a relatively less popular language than English on the web, you would probably have less data in general. But that's where you can use the tool in combination with other tools like your Magic tool to expand on the keyword data a little bit deeper, and probably get to a stronger sense of what to do. So I think it generally works everywhere, but then you always need to make a call on whether on that given market the data is rich enough. But yeah.
Cool. And what is the biggest advantage you see in using the two tools together?
Yeah, I think that, like, as I mentioned, using them together is like helps in the process, right? And like over time, we, our way to optimize content or to write better SEO content hasn't really changed, right? Like we probably do it roughly in the same way that we have been doing it, like, a few years ago. It's not that every year, obviously there are differences in like search results. Google is launching new feature snippet and stuff like that. Yeah, we adapt to that, but the way we write content is roughly the same. What the biggest advantages is like helping you with the process. Right? If there are no gains that you can make on eventually writing a better version on any given content, is like the important bit is that you can do it well and fast, and that's what we learn. And the other bit that I mentioned is that there was a question in the chat earlier around, like, would you go back and rerun some existing content and some other stuff through the tool? Definitely, right? Like you could do this again, right? You can go back and edit that particular template, and that's the kind of stuff that, again, it could be helpful to improve your process, right? Versus just like publishing content and then let it be and then maybe do a new one. You can always go back and rethink, because your competition might change, your customer, there could be seasonality in any given topic. I don't know, things could change, right? And the important is to have like some tool that will help you to adapt to that and be relatively fast in doing it. Because the actual writing and the actual production of content will probably be roughly the same with some caveat, right? You can always make it better guidelines, better editorial, tone of voice guidelines. A lot of things could change, but like in 10 years time, I think that you might be doing it roughly in the same way. I don't know, unless robots will start writing content for us, like a lot of part of the process I've seen that over time stays the same, right? So nailing the process is the most important part, in getting it done.
I'm hoping that there is robots that can write the text for us in 10 years' time. But yeah, here's hoping. But we've got another question here. So this is from Mr. Calgary, Alberta. So he's saying, without hiring a content writer, how unique does each article need to be not to hit the plagiarism marker? There isn't anyone that knows his business better than him, and he's had zero success with content writers.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends. In our case, at some point it was impossible to keep up with that, right? So there's like X amount of time that you have in a day, and you always need to work out how to expand your team if this is successful, right? The first time around, you can probably do it yourself, right? And you have better knowledge of your business. That's what the tool is for, right? You don't need a very strong level of expertise to get started, right? But then as soon as results happen, as soon as things start working, probably you need to start working with someone. We don't actually have in-house writers. That is the only part of the process that we don't have full-time people for, because we write a lot of different topics about a lot of different topics, and we rather work with a bunch of freelancers that are specialized in each given topic. So I assume that whatever is your industry, you could find writers that are knowledgeable about that industry, and then that's where the brief become really important, right? If you're very clear in telling them what the outcome is going to be, your relationship with them is going to be easier, and I think you can work out how to eventually work with them. I understand that for a small business it's quite an investment, right? But even though in our case at this stage we have people in the team who work on the brief creation, publishing, editing, all these kind of stages, but on day one it was just one person with one freelance writer, right? So from like a cost point of view, it wasn't that heavy. To be honest, right? You can start slowly, start producing some content, and then as you go along, scale. But on day one, you could do it almost yourself with someone that can help you write it, right? Also, if you can write yourself, in my case, that is not the case, right? I either have to wait for a robot, or either have to get that from someone. I cannot write a single sentence that is anyhow decent. So I think that's where I would anyway rely on a writer to write my content. And then like on the plagiarism point, I think that it really much depends on the content. You could run the template against some landing pages. You could run the template against some other different pages that just a long form article with a guide about something. So in that case, I think it's probably okay to have a certain level of like content that is duplicate across these pages. There's no necessarily harm. It's not that you can make any page on your site completely different. As long as the main intent of the page is different, you're going to be fine. So let me give you one example. We have landing pages for people who want to send money, with TransferWise to different countries, and these pages are pretty much all the same. But obviously, there's a big difference between sending money to US or China or India, right? So I think the intent of the page, the pricing that we quote, and all the other detail and the nature of the transfer is different. So the core content might be the same, but the intent is different enough to be okay, to have content overlap. So again, like you need to make a judgment on whether that plagiarism score is a really bad thing for your content. If you are producing an article, a 2,000 word article, and 98% of it has been copy pasted by the web, that's probably, you shouldn't first of all, you shouldn't pay for that content. You could go back to the person who sold it to you and tell him that you can do that copy paste yourself, right? But second, probably that's not going to work, right? But there are certain parts of your website that are not necessarily unique and crafted, articles that maybe is okay to have a certain level of duplicate content, right?
I want to add a little bit into that as well. When the person said, they're never going to be able to get anyone to write as good content about their business as they could. I think possibly you have to look at your own expectation levels, because I've also been in that position where I've got very high, guidelines as to how I want things to happen, and no one's ever going to be able to meet the same guidelines as me. But you've got to maybe lower your expectation, because what you have to remember is there's no one else out there who is exactly like you. So when you're looking for content writers and you want to scale up, you're going to have to give up and outsource that work, because you can't do it all yourself. You want to work on your business, not in your business. So it's humanly impossible to kind of scale up at a massive level if you're doing all the content yourself. So yeah, content's a big problem though. So I've got a question for you. I use content writers all the time. I've tried people in the Philippines, I've tried people per hour, I've tried all sorts of different things. Are there any kind of successful places that you've found where you find your writers, or is it just luck? Because I've certainly tried every avenue possible, and like someone said there, we've had zero success. So you do get a lot of poor stuff. So what's your opinion on where to find content writers? Where's the best place to look?
Actually, finding. So now we have a fairly large freelance network, and we also buy commission content to some platforms where there are additional networks on. I think that over time, and that is definitely a challenge, right? Is a constant theme that comes up in the team. There are differences by region, so I think I don't think you need to look at the same approach in every market. For instance, in some market we use platforms like Upwork and Textbroker for people to produce content, and the quality is good. If we find the right writers there. But in some other market, this doesn't work at all, and then we need to open a freelance job on our site portal and stuff like that. I think the most important learning that we had on that front so far is that our best writers are people who are customers, right? Initially, our writers were our customers. We were just tweeting, "Hey, from main TransferWise account, hey, TransferWise need writers," and our customer, obviously, we have now 4 million customers, so there's quite enough, a lot of people. that are exposed to that. But even though you're a small business, you have customers, right? And some of these customers might be writers, and so, or like might have expertise in your field. So are more successful and not just in terms of quality of the content, but also people that stick to us the longer. We have people that have been working with us for years now, writing content for us, and these are all existing customers, right? We just try to understand, and the reason why these people work so much better is that if they are a customer of your business, they understand what your product is about, they understand your industry, they understand, hopefully they care about your mission as a company, so they put more effort in doing that. So I think that's the biggest learning that we had so far. At some point, we even thought that we could almost open source this to every one of our customers could eventually contribute to content, that we could find a way to organize it. We haven't gone that far yet, just because we still think that our editorial process is not strong enough to let this go completely freestyle. We still need professional writers to actually write the content, but at some point we might open up for people to write content from our community. So I think depending on how large is your business, you could almost outsource that to some extent, and I'm pretty sure there are many people that are willing to do it. You can pay them as well. It's not that they need to do it for free, right? We compensate everyone, and it's just a good way to engage your customer and also get people who really understand your brand and your business.
Perfect. Good answer. And that is us sadly out of time today. So thank you, Fabrizio, for joining us today, and thank you for everyone else watching. It's been a pleasure. Fabrizio, if do you want to just share where people can find you if they've got any questions or anything like that? Just, I know you shared it at the end of the slides, but where's the best place to find you? Twitter, LinkedIn?
Yeah, probably Twitter is the best place. Is PECHNET. That's my handle, and I'll be sharing the slides as well under the short link that I gave in the presentation. I think it's gonna be wi.sc/content with SEMrush, if I remember well. But I'll post these, and probably this will be on the landing page of the event. So I think people watching can check it there, and also from the landing page you can probably go to my profile on SEMrush, where you can find my contact details. So I think Twitter is mostly the only social media that I check these days.
Cool. So thank you again, Fabrizio, and thank you everyone else for watching. We will catch you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.